Well, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Trevor McNeil, running for Board of Education. I am running for a few reasons. One of them is professional. I am a public school teacher. I'm my school's union rep. I sit on one of the SFUSD subcommittees. And for me, I think it's very important to have that frontline perspective on the Board of Education. If elected this November, I'd be the first teacher in 12 years elected to the Board of Education. And what I think that will help is I go to all the Board of Education meetings. Every Tuesday I'm there, and I see wonderful policies, and I've always seen wonderful policies. Everyone is usually in education for the right reasons. But by the time those policies sort of roll down the hill and reach my classroom, they're not being implemented exactly the way I think they were envisioned, or they're getting in the way of something else, or they're unfunded mandate, or they're redundant, or at worst they're actually causing harm because it doesn't fit that school's culture or that school's practices. So I always want to be very careful bringing that frontline experience to education policy. It also, my professional experience informs some of the things I want to make a priority. I used to be a substitute in this city, and I've taught in almost every neighborhood in this city, and our substitute system really does need some reforming. There's some simple fixes and some big fixes that I want to be part of that is going to be an immediate effect on our equity and on sort of the just general quality of education we can provide. And then I also am very interested in taking a lead role on teacher recruitment and retention. As someone who has gone through the recruitment process, I think I can speak to that particularly well. I'm, raising a daughter in a rent-controlled apartment as a public school teacher, holding on to San Francisco with my, fingernails. I think that no matter how much people say they care about the plight of teachers in our city and the complex challenges of recruiting and retaining them, I can speak to that personally. And I think 1 out of 7 people on the school board should be able to have that authenticity to them. And the other reason I'm running, besides professional reasons, is personal. I've mentioned my daughter. I've got a 13-month-old daughter, and she's going to be in kindergarten someday. And so for me, what I would like to also do on the Board of Education is really bring a long-term perspective to policy. Obviously, the current board, and I think even I would, be focused on the parents and teachers immediately in the district. But I think we also need to think long-term. I think we need to plan for success. That looks, for me, that looks like reaching out to young families. We have a very limited PR mechanism. In fact, we don't really have a strategic communication mechanism. And there's all sorts of misinformation about our public schools out there. And people call having a kid the 6-year countdown to when you leave San Francisco. And San Francisco is expensive, but it's worth fighting for. And I want to make sure our schools are firmly in the pro column. I want people to get rid of this zeitgeist that our schools are lousy. And I think we need to actively reach out for that and actively have a PR program. It also includes building new schools. I've been involved with building a school in Mission Bay, but if we're building new housing in Treasure Island, Park Merced, Balboa Reservoir, we need to build new infrastructure. That includes our education infrastructure. I've been to every single school in the city, and the percentage of them that have those trailers on their yards is outrageous for a city with this kind of money, and we need to prioritize that sort of long-term planning. Every time I see one of those trailers, my heart breaks, because basically what they're saying is we had so many kids, we took away some of their playground, right? I mean, it's just and the fact that people are complacent, they don't talk about that need a lot. I feel like it becomes much more about saying, oh, it's always been that way, it's always been that way. I hear that a lot in education in San Francisco, and I'm saying that's not good enough for me because I'm in it for the long haul. So that's very important to me. So I could talk about 1,000 other things. My biggest challenge is coming down with these are the 3 most important policies for me. But I would be honored. 6 minutes. Well, I would be honored to receive your endorsement. I was one of the founding members because I was a dean guy. I was there in Iowa for the Scream. But also, honestly, I will say that one of the reasons we haven't elected a teacher in 12 years is it's hard. And I think San Francisco democracy does represent transparency and citizen involvement. There are other people running for the Board of Education that are raising tens and tens of thousands of dollars from people who stand diametrically opposed to the interests of public education. They're for privatization. And so I'm just saying, I am that kind of grassroots candidate, and I would be honored to receive your endorsement.